But first, our top story this half an hour. First day on the job, newly sworn in Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh takes his place on the high court, hearing his first arguments today. This after a ceremonial swearing in last night at the White House, in which he sought to ease partisan fears surrounding his appointment.
I take this office with gratitude and no bitterness. On the Supreme Court, I will seek to be a force for stability and unity. My goal is to be a great justice for all Americans and for all of America. I will work very hard to achieve that goal. I was not appointed to serve one party or one interest, but to serve one nation.
Joining us right now is presidential historian Doug Wead. Doug, good to see you. Thanks very much for being here this morning. Give us your thoughts as the Kavanaugh saga continues and Justice Kavanaugh begins his first day on the job today.
Yeah, I think the real story here, Maria, and by the way, hi, Dagan and Matt, Lindsay, I think the real story here is Donald Trump. The Democrats are used to getting their own choices for the Supreme Court, and they're used to the Republicans generously giving them another one, like Gerald Ford did, like George H.W. Bush did, and like, in a way, Ronald Reagan gave them at least a swing vote. So here, Donald Trump had two choices. Both of them are conservative, and I think the Democrats took it to the wall thinking they could get him to back down or flip on it, and they have a different kind of president, and he didn't do it.
That's good.
Yeah, this is true. Doug, the thing that's most amazing is that usually presidents, when they get into the hot seat with a nominee, they drop them. They say it's not fair, but, we just got to move on, maybe pick someone new. Trump did something very unusual, something I don't think another president would have done. He stuck with Brett Kavanaugh through the lows of these charges. That's pretty astounding, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and especially, Matt, Maria, when you consider the next person, the next man in was going to be a woman, and it would have been very difficult. The Democrats had kind of painted themselves into a corner with these charges that had been made. So it's interesting that he stayed the course. It looks easy, these Supreme Court nominations. It is not, and history shows that it is not. And this president has got a remarkable record so far here on this.
Doug, the margin that Brett Kavanaugh was confirmed by in the Senate was the slimmest, I think, since 1881. How does that stack up compared to what you've seen as a historian?
Yeah, well, 1991, that was pretty close to maybe just one vote differently with Clarence Thomas. So it's getting pretty tight right now. And Abe Fortas comes to mind. LBJ pushed Abe Fortas, tried to make him the Chief Justice. His own Senate, Democratic Senate, blocked it and stopped it. And then they started looking at Fortas, who was already on the Supreme Court, turned over some rocks, found all kinds of critters, corruption, and Abe Fortas would have been impeached. He had to resign from the Supreme Court. So it's been bitter before.
How, Doug, it's Dagan McDowell, what about the next Supreme Court pick? Assuming that President Trump gets another one, is it going to be that much worse? And will the Democrats be that much more underhanded?
Yeah, but I think it will, and I think there might be another one. And what's left in their playbook, this has kind of backfired on them. And if they now try to impeach him, I think it's going to backfire greatly against them. They've got to be positive for something. They can't always be negative about something. And they got to get their facts together. Just think of this. There are men on death row that the Innocent Project has released because the forensics showed that they were innocent. The DNA proved they couldn't have committed the murders, yet they were there because of personal testimony, eyewitnesses, which can make mistakes. So you've got to have all your facts together if you're going to try to pull off something like this.
Oh, my God. The left will go absolutely insane. Insane. They will just go crazy if he chooses another Supreme Court justice. I tweeted this out yesterday, the ages of current SCOTUS justices. Kavanaugh, 53, Gorsuch, 51, Kagan, 58, Sotomayor, 64, Alito, 68, Roberts, 63, Breyer is 80, Ginsburg is 85, Thomas is 70. Just putting that out there in terms of where we are in the Supreme Court justices and their ages. Kavanaugh clerked under Justice Kennedy. Do you see him being a Kennedy-like force on the court or more to the right in the mold of former Justice Scalia?
Well, that's the great hope of the Democrats is that they may have really hurt their own cause here. I think, based on the appointments that Donald Trump has made, he's going to be a conservative and the court's going to change. And it's tough for the Democrats because they were losing in these state referendums. They were losing in elections. And the only way they could push their agenda was with the help of the media and with the help of the courts. So now if they're not going to be able to stack the courts with the people they want to rewrite the laws and to change America, they're going to have to go back to the people and try to win elections. And that means being positive about something.
Hey, Doug, there's two things about transparency under President Trump that is really revolutionary. Number one, he actually told the American people who he may pick for the court, which is amazing. And number two, the Republicans didn't have to pick a stealth nominee who was like hiding his conservatism or originalism with the Constitution. Brett Kavanaugh has 300 opinions. Many of a dozen or so were picked up by the court. So it's been complete transparency. Do you see that as a good trend?
Well, I think it's a very good trend, and it's more fair. And you look back over history, Matt Nixon, two of his nominees were rejected. George Washington, after he named the original court and he tried to replace somebody, they were rejected as George Washington by the Senate. It's not an easy thing to do, so it's pretty remarkable.
By the way, the Democrats were ready to reject anybody that President Trump put forth. They already had, during this whole fight over Kavanaugh, they had their signs ready that said, "Stop Amy." So they were ready for Kavanaugh to go away and him to choose Amy, and they had those signs ready too. So it didn't matter who it was.
Well, they were trying to push online. You saw it with the left-wing nuts, push Kavanaugh out and try to get President Trump to nominate Amy Coney Barrett, which, again, was a ruse. That's hogwash because they would be opposed to her as well.
Well, they had the signs. We saw the signs.
They just need to be patient. It's going to happen.
They're the equivalent of a vegan going into a steakhouse and ordering a steak and being upset about it. You were never going to eat. You were never going to eat it in the first place. Shut up and stay at home.
Yep. Well, Doug, thank you for weighing in. We always love your history thoughts. Doug Wead joining us there. The president just tweeted this